Hey guys, this is Jake from Westcott, and today we're going to go over how to connect your FJ trigger with your FJ strobes. When getting started, we want to ensure that all of our equipment is turned on. Let's go ahead and talk about our channels. We're going to put all of our equipment on the same channel. Let's start off with our FJ400. Now let's check out the FJ200. Now let's change the FJ80 V2. Let's talk about channels. Typically when I get started, I set my channel at channel 5. Usually channels 5 through 15 have the best connectivity. When changing your frequency, we always change it by 5. The reason being, whatever channel you're on, usually the frequency below it and above it can cause interference as well, so that's always why we change it by 5. So if I'm at channel 5, I change it from 5 to 10. If I'm at channel 10 and have issues, I change it from 10 to 15. Always change it by 5 to ensure the best connectivity. Now let's talk about groups. There are 6 groups on the FJ trigger, it's A through F, and in each group you can connect up to 20 lights, which is huge because that gives you even more control over your scene. Typically how I set up my trigger is, I set up my main light to channel A, my fill light to channel B, my hair light to channel C, and my background light to channel D. This allows me to go into each group and change the power individually so I can dial in all of my settings exactly how I want from the back of my camera. One additional thing about groups. There are 3 modes that you can set your FJ trigger in. There's manual, sleep, and TTL. These can be adjusted by pressing the square button next to the group letter. Manual mode is just like what it sounds. It lets you change your lights manually from power level 9 all the way to power level 1. Sleep mode puts the group to sleep, so when you take your next exposure, that group will no longer fire. TTL will allow the camera and the light to auto meter for you and set the exposure to what it thinks is correct. Sync X. Sync X limits the shutter speed to 1/250th of a second and lower. This is made primarily for film cameras and medium format cameras. Most modern DSLRs and mirrorless cameras don't need Sync X turned on, so make sure it's off unless you're using medium format or film cameras. One last tip, let's talk about distance. There are 2 distance settings on the FJX trigger. Normal, which is from 1 to 300 feet, and then max, which is 301 feet to 985 feet. For most of the time, you're going to use the NOR or normal setting. If you are using the max setting and are closer than 301 feet, this can cause misfires and connectivity issues. Your FJ80 V2 has 3 modes: host mode, client mode, and speedlight mode. In host mode, your FJ80 V2 essentially becomes a trigger. You can control your FJ400, 200, and additional FJ80 V2s from your FJ80 on camera. When you put your FJ80 V2 in client mode, this makes your FJ80 V2 act just like an FJ400. It makes it discoverable, and you can connect it and control it from your FJX trigger. And then there's speedlight mode. Speedlight mode just allows you to use your flash on camera. You cannot use it to fire other lights, and it will not be fired by your trigger. Only you can use it on camera. Our radio frequency signal is called TTL ALL. So if you see that in any of the settings on your FJ200 or 400 or your FJ80 V2, make sure it says TTL ALL and not off or RTID. This will enable you to fire your strobes from your FJX trigger. If you have any questions or comments, make sure you leave them in the section below. And as always, thanks for watching.